Hello and welcome to Spiritual Basics Podcast. I'm Jen Merkel.
And I'm Dr. April Darley.
And we are so glad to have you here. Spiritual Basics Podcast is where we like to share our experiences and teach those who are new to the all things mystical, so to kind of give you an idea, answer your questions, and provide you with basic information to help lead you on your way. So April.
Yes.
Usually we like to start the show with talking a little bit about what's going on with us. And you probably won't be too surprised to hear this, but when I came home the other day, I had about, 10, 12 wasps in my living room.
What?
I know, it sucks.
That is no bueno.
I had April and I had a bunch of people over on Friday night, and April was one of them. And we're just hanging out talking about spiritual stuff, of course, because what else is there to talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden a wasp flies around. I'm like, what? Because I'm deathly afraid of wasps. I'm afraid of bees. I don't like them,
Yeah.
And wasp is like, 3 million times a bee.
True. Yeah,
especially
it's like a bee's angry cousin.
It is, especially here in Texas, because everything's bigger in Texas. So, of course, the wasps are about, 10 times the size of what they are. And so it's like the thing of nightmares. So anyway, Friday is just one little wasp. And, we never ended up finding it. I'm like, maybe it'll die by morning.
Yeah.
But next morning I woke up and sure enough, it was not dead. So I got the wasp spray out and got rid of it. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Because I didn't give it much thought. Well, then that was Friday. And then on Saturday, there was another wasp. I'm like, okay, this is a little annoying. Took care of it. Sunday, another wasp. I was like, I'm not feeling too good here right now. So I put in actually, I think there were 2 on Sunday. So I put in a service request saying, hey, there's, and of course, even though I had killed 4, I put, oh my gosh, I've already killed 8 wasps since last week. And I'm like, okay, but, I put in a service request. I'm like, I don't know what the issue is, but there's this tree, the tree that's on my patio. Mm-hmm. So the wasps love that tree. Now, it's a huge tree. They like the leaves. So they're way up high in the sky. It doesn't really bother me. But the fact that they're up there is kind of up by my second story. And, I think that might be it. But in looking around the complex there, looks like everybody has the same problem with these wasps. So I'm not special in that way. So Monday, I came home. It was like midday. And there were like 3 wasps flying around, 4 wasps. And I'm like, okay, this is not good. So I killed what I could. I thought I took care of them all. And then I got on the phone to call the, the office here. And when I was, I had to push all the buttons to get to the guy live. And right at the very moment he was answering the phone, a wasp started chasing me. So I'm screaming on the phone. I'm like, oh, this poor guy.
No.
And I had been there the day before to add my new puppy to my lease. And she, of course, pooped on his floor, the first and only time she's pooped inside. But so he already is like, oh, God, this girl is like crazy. But anyway, so I apologized profusely. I'm like, but I'm living a nightmare right now. So they went and they ended up, I learned that they actually live inside the walls, I guess. And, I knew because it was getting cooler outside, they come into where the warmth is. And so I guess they're living in my walls. They taped up my fireplace because they figured that was where it was coming from. But I had them tape up the light fixture too, like the can lighting up there. Mm-hmm. And they got a big cardboard thing on there. And yeah, I guess I just have to kind of wait until the first freeze so that they all die.
Super fun.
But that's not probably going to be at least till next week, maybe. So every time I come home, I'm thinking,
it is Texas, so it literally could be tomorrow, and you never know.
Yeah, it's kind of cold out there right now, but I think the low is supposed to be 35 overnight, but I don't know.
Well, so just to give our listeners a little background, whenever some strange, unusual insect or animal crosses my path, I always wonder, is it a sign or is it a message? So we advised Jen to Google wasp spirit animals. So did you end up doing that?
Well, actually, I did, but I'll tell you, you know how I feel about Googling spirit animals and things like that, because like I had talked about in a previous episode, Googling the meaning of something, I mean, you're just getting, so many different opinions. And I did Google it just because I was too lazy to go look at my book that I've got upstairs. But it could pretty much mean anything.
So did anything resonate?
Nothing really resonated, because for me, so I do animal spirit readings, and actually WASP does come up sometimes. But what I tend to think about when I'm doing an animal spirit reading is, what is this animal about? Like for me, I know my animal spirit is a horse, because a horse like runs free. Horse, has a gentle side to them. They're about freedom and flying and kind of, being their own thing. So for WASP, that's a hard one for me, even when I get it in a reading, because it can mean different things. Like it could mean, like a community. It could mean a building, things. It could mean just, kind of being a pain in the butt. I don't know. So
what? She's an Aquarius too, folks. If that tells you.
And how does that come into this equation?
We'll talk about that later.
Okay. So, hey, so what's new with you?
Busy day, actually. Okay. So I hope nobody strings me up by my thumbs, but I did do some shopping today for Christmas decorations.
Oh my goodness.
I know, crazy. But I bought a new tree this year. My last tree, the lights on it died. It was a pre-lit Christmas tree.
I don't like pre-lit Christmas trees for exactly that reason.
I had it for a while, but I would have gotten rid of it anyway because it was in my storage unit, and my storage unit just leaked and had all that mold in it. So now it was a moldy, dark Christmas tree. So, of course, that thing was going in the garbage.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that in my house for sure.
So I went to get a new one at Michael's because they're having a Black Friday sale on all of their Christmas trees. And so while I was there, I just picked up some decorations because I like my Christmas trees to have a theme, like a color theme or something like that.
You change it up every year?
I would say every year, but maybe every other year I'll change. I'll swap the colors out. And nice. So I needed some different decorations because I got a bigger tree this year. So I didn't feel like my old ornaments would be size appropriate for this bigger tree. So I did that today. Fun. So I know some people are like, gag me with a spoon, but.
Well, last year I had my Christmas tree up, I would say maybe mid-November. It was like the weekend before Thanksgiving. But part of that is because I was going through some emotional stuff and I really needed to have that Christmas feeling in my life. Yeah. So I thought, why not? I don't need to follow no rules. I'm an Aquarius.
That's right. I'm an adult. We can do what we want.
Make my own damn rules. Yes. So folks, anyway, this week's episode is called All About Empath Armor. And Empath Armor is a book that was written by our very own sweet Dr. April.
That's me.
So she's going to tell us a little bit about the book and go through some different things. And this is all very exciting. So, and by the way, I've read the book and it is fantastic. You can get it on Amazon. And anyway, so take it away, Dr. April.
Thanks, Jen.
Sure.
I love it. You're my biggest fan. So Empath Armor, it's called Empath Armor, How to Ground, Cleanse, and Protect Your Energy as a Sensitive Person. And for years, I've been saying, I need to write a book because my clients were coming into me with similar issues, similar patterns. And I ended up teaching them how to shield themselves, how to ground. And by doing these things, it helped them become more stable. It helped them have a better sense of their own energy so they weren't having these emotional issues or even physical issues like they used to. And so I finally quit procrastinating and did write a book. Don't be scared out there. It is not a large novel. It is a very short guide that gets you started immediately feeling better.
Yeah, it's actually a really easy read and it's laid out very well, very easy to understand. So,
yes, thank you. So what I did for that is a lot of my clients, when they come into me, they know what an empath is already, but they just wanted to know how to get help, what to do right now. But in case you are listening and you do not know what an empath is, there are a lot of different definitions out there. And as Jen said before, you can Google and you're going to find like a million different definitions. So I go with my personal definition, and that is someone who is an energy sensitive. So a lot of people will make a distinction between empath and highly sensitive person, and they kind of split hairs a little bit on how those two are different, but I actually don't. So I lump that into someone who is energetically sensitive, who may pick up the emotions or even physical pain of someone else. So, and I will often refer to that person as having a healing energy, a healing or a helping energy. And one thing that made me realize my own story about being an empath and why it's so important to be grounded is I do something called neuro-emotional technique, or NET. It really is a stress and emotional clearing technique. And when I started to do this in my practice full time, after about 6 months, I began to become depressed, negative, apathetic. And that is not my normal personality. I'm pretty optimistic. I'm pretty bubbly. I might have a bad day here or there like everyone else, but that wasn't me. And my friend asked if she could use my office to host a psychic party. Basically, she brought in a psychic reader, and it was going to be a big party. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I finished my patients for the day and went in to meet the psychic. And this lady takes one look at me and goes, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What am I doing?" She called me out. And she asked me what I did for work, and I explained to her about neuro-emotional technique and how I help people release stuck and trapped emotions. And she asked me a question that no one in my life has ever asked me. She said, "When you help them release the emotions, where do you send them?" And it really stopped me in my tracks. I'm like, "What do you mean where I send them? We weren't trained to send them anywhere. They just go away." And she was like, "No." She's like, "When you release people's emotions, because you're not sending them to a particular place, you're absorbing them." And she looked at my aura and she said, "You have a gray band all across your solar plexus." And it was at that moment, I was like, holy crap. No wonder I feel so bad. I've absorbed all this yuck.
It's so funny. I can actually picture that, because when you think about it, like if you, when you were little and you had Play-Doh, if you ever played with a little kid who had Play-Doh and they have all like 10 different colors, what do? Do they keep the colors separate? No, they mush them all up. And then it becomes this big thing of gray.
Yeah.
And that's, so that's actually, I can totally see that on you. Horrible.
Yeah. So all that energetic yuck had built up to the point where my own light, my own essence, my own energy, my personality was completely affected. So she gave me a couple things I could do, but I will tell you, it took me about 2 months of doing daily work to clear out my chakras enough to where they were not crudted up. So it was at that moment that I'm like, I need to stop this from happening. So I began to really research what it was like to ground, to shield, to protect myself. And through my own trial and error, this book was born. And because everybody is different, everybody's going to resonate with a particular method, I made sure that each chapter in the book, grounding, shielding, and cleansing, had several different methods so that you could do it while you travel. You could do it around other people, covertly. And so you wouldn't feel embarrassed, or it wouldn't be this big long ritual where you needed 5 yellow candles and a particular essential oil. So it's nothing that's elaborate. It's something quick.
Stuff that you can do immediately without having to like shop on Amazon or something.
Absolutely. Without feeling like a weirdo and anything. I mean, you have all the tools it takes right now sitting right where you are to get the job done. So you don't need fancy tools. But I did include some things with some tools if you are so inclined, but I wanted to give you several methods so that you are never without something in your toolbox that you can pull out at any time and work with. So that's how this book was born.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I thought I would discuss just one or two methods about each little section. And the first one is grounding, which is one of my favorites. And grounding, you may have heard Jen and I mention it occasionally, but it does correspond to the root chakra or even that Earth Star chakra. If you guys follow Jen on any of her social media, she's recently done a huge chakra overview, on some of her.
Yeah, kind of like a mini class on chakras.
Yeah, mini class.
Right. On Instagram and Facebook.
That's right. So the root chakra is your base. It's your foundation, your safety, your security. So we want that chakra to be strong. And we want you to be grounded like a tree with these roots that no matter what life shakes you as, you're going to be anchored and secure. And some symptoms of being ungrounded are nausea, dizziness, sluggishness. Those are my main ones that I hear people that come in. It's really, they feel altered in some way, even anxious.
Yeah, I myself, when I work with clients, whether it's, doing an energy reading or doing like a card reading or whatever it is, sometimes I too get ungrounded. I mean, it's, even people who've been doing this for a long time, you do absorb those energies. And I know for me, sometimes I'll get headaches or like another thing too is like if people have issues with any of their chakras and I start feeling it in my chakras, like if someone has like an issue because they don't want to tell their spouse something, then my throat hurts, things like that. So yeah, that's all awful.
And if you are new to doing any of this kind of work, just know that what I'm about to discuss, grounding, shielding, cleansing, you may have to do this several times throughout the day. Until you get experienced and know your own body, know your own energy, this may not be a one and done thing for you. So you may have to just check in with yourself throughout the day and renew that. So one of my favorite things that I like to do for grounding is crystals or gemstones. I will say the same word, crystals and gemstones, because when I was learning how to do crystal healing, the company used gems, not crystals. So if you ever hear
they use that terminology.
They use that terminology, yes, gemstones. So I will halfway say crystal, halfway say gemstone, but I am not a gemologist, but in my mind, they mean the same thing. So my very, very favorite one, I have a giant chunk on my desk where I do all of my energy work, is black tourmaline. It's my very favorite, and I love it. Like I love it. And black tourmaline is really super special. And my other one I really love is smoky quartz. And for me, those three have the best bang for your buck. So if you are on a budget, black tourmaline and smoky quartz, they do a little bit of all three: grounding, shielding, cleansing. Black tourmaline is special in my mind because it takes all that yucky energy and it transmutes it, or it transforms it into something that's positive. So it's my favorite. I love it. So there's black tourmaline, smoky quartz. I use garnet a lot. Anything to do with that root chakra. So any crystal or gemstone that tends to be black or red are some of your grounding stones.
Yeah. Another good one is hematite. And what I find for hematite, you can use it as a grounding crystal in the same way, but it's such a shiny crystal. I imagine that if there's energy coming at me, that hematite just bounces it right off. Like it's a protective shield when things coming at me. That just bounces right off. So that's one that I like to use a lot. And also I have one of my favorites is black obsidian. I've got you've seen it. I've used it doing energy healing with you before. That amazing energy. It's like, what is it? Like, I think 60 millimeters round, a sphere. And
it's a big old chunk.
I love it.
So she loves it. And I will say that hematite was my very first grounding stone. So when I was opening up and my journey was new, hematite was the one I used. And I used bracelets. And I felt like I was slipping out of my body a lot. I was just so ungrounded that I would have one on each wrist. And sometimes I would even put them on my ankles.
Oh, wow.
Right. I just needed that much grounding in the beginning. So jewelry
floating away.
I was floating. Yes. So jewelry is an excellent way that you can be covert and have this sort of grounding energy around you all the time. You can also carry a pouch. Like if you have an organza bag or some cloth pouch, you can put some gemstones in that, carry it with you. Some of the ladies like to put it in their bra, as we've mentioned in other episodes. So whatever makes you more comfortable, just to have them in your space. I know I have them around where I'm working. If there are any electronics, I have them in that space as well. Shungite is another amazing grounding stone. And there again, it's another black stone. And so I'm going to move on to the shielding aspect now. And there are tons of ways to shield.
So tell me first, what exactly does shielding mean?
So yeah, shielding in my mind is a lot like a bubble or a protection or even an umbrella. You're not going to suffer if you're without it, but you're just going to be way more comfortable if you have it. It's just a way to insulate yourself from maybe the chaos or the craziness of your environment, or even if you're an empath, it's like a little extra barrier between you and someone else to keep you from absorbing their stuff.
So it's actually what I just explained about how I use hematite. That was for shielding more than for grounding. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but it does both.
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So if you are on a budget, multi-purpose, definitely look for these crystals and gemstones that do double duty, triple duty. And so you don't need a large chest. You don't need 6 million things. You're going to have your favorites. And
well, I don't know. Maybe you do have a large chest. I mean, or maybe you have a small one, but you don't discriminate. It's okay.
I know. Jen and I have like pirates' chests at home full of gemstones and all the stuff that we have. But if you are just beginning, your journey, know that you don't have to go buy all the tools. You don't need 10 black grounding stones, right? Just pick a couple and you're going to be good. So why you want to shield is just what I said before. You want that a little extra protection. You want to hold on to your energy without absorbing somebody else's stuff. So it really does add like it's like an insulator or a barrier to keep you feeling healthy, safe, and refreshed, and even calm. And if you are not shielded well, you will find things like fatigue, where you will be talking to someone, you felt fine before you entered that conversation, and after the person walks away, you are exhausted. And that is a great sign that your energy has been sucked away by an energy vampire because your shields weren't strong enough, or maybe you didn't have any at all. Changes in mood are often seen with lack of shielding, and even anxiety. You really notice it when you are feeling fine and good, and then something suddenly happens where you are tired or your anxiety kicks up a notch.
Have you ever been like, just all of a sudden you're like, gosh, I don't feel good, but I'm just not sure why. I was feeling fine like an hour ago and now I just feel blah. And that can a lot of times that can, be what that is.
It is. And so it's really important for empaths to know themselves well, know what their own energy feels like, know what their own mood is. So if something happens like that out of the blue, you need to stop and ask the question, is it my stuff? Or have I just picked up somebody else's stuff? And if you have, we're going to teach you how to cleanse that in a little bit. But for shielding, one of my very, very favorites that I like to use for shielding is I do work with angels, and Archangel Michael. He's my man. He's like the bodyguard bouncer of the angels.
Him and his mighty sword.
That's right. So I do use Archangel Michael. So how I use Archangel Michael, now you may find some people will say that every angel has a color associated with them. And Archangel Michael is often associated with an indigo type light. So some people may say it's dark blue. Some people may say purple or indigo.
Yeah, he's usually associated with the third eye chakra, which is that indigo. So
I imagine myself surrounded by this indigo light. And I ask Archangel Michael, you can either ask out loud or in your mind, I ask him to surround me. And not only me, I ask him to surround my dogs, my apartment, my car, my office with his indigo light of protection. And if you feel like you need extra shielding, you can even ask Archangel Michael to surround you on all sides. Stand in front, back, by the side, and just know that when you work with angels, they're not limited by time or space. So if you work with Archangel Michael, I've had a lot of clients tell me that they don't work with angels because they feel selfish, that if an angel is helping them, it's taking them away from somebody else that might need it, but that's not true. Archangel Michael could be in a million different places at once. So if that is a concern of yours, please know that he can be with you and he can be with a billion other people at the same time. It's not, you're not sucking away his attention. So don't be worried about being selfish. So the crux of it is I do ask him, and I just like this. I'm like, Archangel Michael, please surround me with, I usually say dark blue light of protection, surround my car, my dogs, me, my apartment. And I also ask him to raise the vibration in my space and raise my own vibration and attune my energy to higher levels. That's a little bit of an advanced thing, but.
So what I was going to say is when working with angels, what I like to tell people, and by the way, good tip about, how we can all share the power of angels, all different types of angels. But whenever you're working with angels, whether it's an archangel or, your guardian angels, the universal law is that angels love to help you. They will help. That's their main purpose, is to help us. But according to universal law, we have to ask them, unless it's a life-threatening emergency. Like if you're about to be in an accident and they send something to protect you, that's one thing. But for things like this that are not life-threatening, feel free to ask them. They want to help you, but like I said, they need you to ask. So don't be afraid to do so.
Yes, absolutely. Good tip. And if angels aren't your jam, then don't despair. There's a lot of different ways to shield in the book. And,
yeah, absolutely.
And you can just pick a color that feels good to you. A lot of people will pick pink because it's love, it's compassion, and they surround themselves with a pink light or a pink bubble. And that works too. So there's no right or wrong, and you don't have to use angels. There's a lot of different ways to shield. And when I first started out, one of my favorites was to surround myself. I think I started out with white light, but I realized that white light wasn't as strong for me as pink light was. So pink light did a better job. But I would surround the outside of my pink light with mirrors. So outside of my bubble was surrounded by mirrors. So if any negative energy came toward me, it was bounced back to its sender. And I did ask my angels, if anyone directed negativity toward me, that it be cleansed, cleared, and sent back as love to the sender.
Yeah, that's actually really important, because if you're not doing that step, then they're getting back their quote unquote bad energy, which you don't want to do that. You don't want to, send back the bad stuff to them. You want to bring love and light into the world and help them out that way.
Yeah, which is why I love my black tourmaline, because it's a transmuter like that. It takes the yuck, the bad, the negative, and turns it into something positive and beautiful and awesome. So yes, so shielding is important. I kind of liken shielding to putting on some clothes. A lot of people will feel vulnerable when they're naked. And if they have clothes on, they feel a little more protected. And that's sort of what a shield is. But if you forget to shield, then the next step I consider non-optional, and that's cleansing. Because if you do not shield, you will absorb yuck from other people, from your environment. And so cleansing becomes the most important steps. And in my experience with empaths, they knew about grounding, they knew about shielding, but they didn't often know about cleansing, or they downplayed its importance. And for me, it's like brushing my teeth and taking a shower. It's something that I do every day. And my energy needs to be cleansed every day to feel just as clean as my skin or my teeth. And if you aren't cleansed, you're going to notice a lot of the same symptoms as you do with the grounding and shielding, is that you're just going to notice mood changes, but you may actually feel apathetic. and even heavier. And you'll just feel like things aren't going to get better ever. And you may feel stuck. And it's just almost like a deep depression. And it's just no way to live. It is not an awesome space to be in. So one of my very favorite ways to cleanse is by using salt, and specifically Epsom salt. So I make a scrub that I use in the shower several times a week, only because I'm too lazy to do baths. But if you enjoy an Epsom salt bath, you can substitute that as well. And my salt bath recipe is 1 cup of Epsom salt, about 1 to 2 tablespoons of a carrier oil, and that could be avocado, sweet almond, apricot. I don't recommend using coconut oil unless you have the liquid fractionated form.
You can use olive oil as well. I do sometimes use that as something that's in my kitchen.
Yeah, whatever you have in the kitchen is fine. It doesn't have to be fancy.
As long as it's liquid, yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's liquid. And then I add 5 to 10 drops of an essential oil that is often considered cleansing. So that's any of your citruses like lemon, orange, tangerine, tea tree, eucalyptus.
Grapefruit is a good one too, one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So you add 5 to 10 drops of that, and then you sort of stir it all together and put it in a shower-safe container. I don't necessarily recommend you taking glass containers into the shower for safety reasons, but then you just do a scrub from the neck down. You don't want to use the scrub on your face. It's a little bit too harsh for the facial skin. But from the neck down, just do a nice scrub. And the crystalline matrix of the salt absorbs negative energy. So even as you're cleansing your skin, your energy is also being cleansed. So you're going to feel even lighter when you get out of the shower. It's almost like you've just lost 5 or 10 pounds because you're just going to feel better when you do this. And I do it several times a week. If you've been sick, if you've had an argument with anyone, or anyone's made you feel bad, or you're in a high drama, super anxious environment, or you're feeling even panicky, definitely do this salt scrub. It's a sign that you need to cleanse. So don't be afraid to cleanse often. And I do recommend daily cleansing.
Yeah, salt actually is a great way to cleanse. Sometimes I'll just go and lay my hands on my, big Himalayan salt lamp and just, kind of let it take away all that. But one of the things that I like to do actually to cleanse is similar to bath, but it's actually the shower. I love baths. They're great, but I don't always have the time to do a bath. Mm-hmm. But every morning when I'm in the shower, I like to do, I guess it's like a mini meditation, cleansing one, which is actually a great way to start the day as well. Mm-hmm. Where when I'm in the shower and I'm letting the water, pour over me, I close my eyes and take some deep breaths. And, not my face is in the water or anything because I drowned. But anyway, I just let the water kind of cleanse over me. And I imagine it to be just like white light cleansing and just coming out of my shower, just cleansing me from head to toe and all that yuck stuff that I've absorbed over the past 24 hours or whatever, just washing right down the drain. And, it's actually really great and refreshing. And, showers to me, they're always very cleansing anyway. Cause when you step out of the shower, you smell good, you're cool, you're clean. Yeah. And, your body is that way. But then when you do this little mini meditation, it's also, your soul is that way as well.
Right. And if you are someone who is not making time to meditate, I cannot tell you how awesome meditation is about keeping yourself grounded.
For sure.
And helping you to really know your own energy so that you can quickly differentiate your mood versus someone else's stuff and get rid of it when you need to. So as I mentioned, there are lots of different ways to ground, cleanse, and shield, more so than we've mentioned here. I've dedicated entire chapters of the book to different ways that you can do it. So just play around and figure out what works for you. And don't be afraid to make your own method. Just adapt it to your lifestyle, mix and match, do what you want. Do what you want, girl.
For sure. So, Yeah, so that sounds great. So, April, what are like the main takeaways from, today that you want people to remember?
So I want you to cleanse every day, just like a shower. If I could tell you to do one thing that is the non-optional step, you can forget to ground and can forget to shield, but please don't forget to cleanse. And you will just feel better when you do this sort of self-care. And when you take care of yourself, even on this energetic level, you're going to be able to function better. So the things that are bothering you now won't be issues for you as much, because once you get your energy straight, yourself straight, you're going to go out there and be the badass healer, the badass empath that I know that you are. And so many empaths look at their abilities as a curse rather than a gift. And if I can get your energy squared away, you're going to start to see the strengths on that and how it's actually your superpower and not your curse.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, April. Now, guys, like I said before, April's book is available on Amazon, and I always just call it Empath Armor. But what's the full title again?
It's called Empath Armor, How to Ground, Cleanse, and Protect Your Energy as a Sensitive Person. And you can do a search for it under Empath Armor or under my name, April Darley. That's Darley.
Awesome. Thanks for all the info. It's just really a great book. I highly recommend it to anyone. So good job, April.
Thanks.
And what great information too. So fantastic. So now we're going to move on to the portion of our show where we answer reader questions. Our mailbag. Woohoo.
Woohoo! Mailbag with Jen.
Today, yeah, it's with me.
I feel like we need a jingle. Mailbag with Jen.
Yeah, we probably should get on that.
We do, yeah.
But it's not always with me. It was with you last time. But
right.
so anyhow, today we got an email from Casey. And hey, Casey.
Hi, Casey.
She says, Dear April and Jen, thanks for all the information you provide. It is so helpful to people like me who are just coming into their awakening. I have a question about meditation, which is really interesting because you just brought that up. So it was not planned or anything.
Do it.
So she goes on to say, I know meditating is good for me, but I have a hard time concentrating and relaxing when I try to do it. My mind just keeps thinking of random things, and even when I try to refocus, it just seems to land on something else. Do you have any tips on how to keep me on track when I meditate? Much love, Casey. Well,
Great
hey, Casey,
question.
I actually do have some ideas for you, but before I talk about that, I just want to let you know there are lots of ways to meditate. Don't feel like you have to fit into a box just because you saw on a movie or like the textbook idea of a guy, sitting cross-legged on a floor with his hands on his knees going,
Yeah,
it doesn't
can't do that.
have to be that way. There are actually a ton of different ways to meditate. So maybe that's, something we can talk about in a future episode, but it's a good thing if you want to Google ways to meditate. I actually have a blog post on it that I put up recently. So there's some really good things. So just do what feels good for you. And I think in time, you will actually develop what works best for you. So all that said, I do have 2 tips for you. First of all, when you have mind chatter, as we call it, what you can do is just honor the thought. Just, honor whatever thought comes into your head. Maybe you're thinking about how wasps have been in your living room. Just honor that thought and then imagine it as a bubble. So that thought becomes a bubble. Almost you can imagine it like a soap bubble or a cartoon bubble, whatever works for you. And then just imagine yourself gently blowing the bubble away. It slowly floats up into the air, gets higher and higher until you finally don't see it anymore. Or maybe you can imagine that it floats up to a certain level and then it pops and it's gone. And then the next thought that comes in, just do that again. I actually, when I was early on in my meditation practice, I felt that I had to do that because my mind was always going in different directions. And I found the more I practiced this actual exercise, it really, really helped me. And I still have that sometimes. But another thing I did, my second tip, is to try guided meditations. And you can really find like millions of them, I think, on YouTube search. But what I would recommend is search something like guided meditations for stress or guided meditations for good sleep or whatever you're trying to accomplish, guided meditations for healing. There's so many on there. And some are better than others. You're probably going to find after a little trial and error, there are certain accounts that resonate with you a little bit more. But I can recommend two that I particularly enjoy. On YouTube. One is called The Honest Guys. That's HONESTGUIS. So The Honest Guys, youtube.com/The Honest Guys. And the only reason I'm like repeating this 3 million times is because there's some imposters on there. I think they just go by Honest Guys without the, and they're not the same. So just, you can go ahead and look them up. I actually mention that to people that I work with all the time, whether I'm doing energy healings or readings. If I feel like, they could benefit from some meditation, I do recommend these guys all the time. I don't hold stock in their organization or anything like that. I've never talked to them. They don't know me, but I do like to push people to them because it's something that really works well for me. There's another person online on YouTube called Jason Stevenson, who's also very good. He has a lovely little, I think it's a British accent, but anyway, it's just very calming, and his meditations are mostly for sleep, but at any rate, those are two really good ones to start with. So like I said, that's what I recommend, to try and just keep doing it, keep doing what you're doing, try these tips, and I think you will find that you will grow your meditation practice and it will become something that really helps you.
Awesome. And Casey, I have an app on my phone. It's called Insight Timer, INSIGHT Timer, TIMER. Again, I'm not affiliated with this at all, but they have both guided and musical meditations on there. And they have meditations from 2 minutes up to 2 hours. So you may want to work your way up. If you're sitting down and you're trying to do an hour's worth and you're brand new to meditation, you may need to baby step your way there. So back off a little bit. Maybe you do 5 minutes, work yourself up to 10 to 15 and play around. I do recommend for a beginner, as Jen mentioned, guided meditation is amazing. And to pay attention to your breath as well. Make sure you're breathing in, you're breathing out, because that can help calm and relax you and help relax that monkey mind, the mind chatter.
Awesome. So thanks, guys, so much for joining us for this episode of Spiritual Basics Podcast with April and Jen. We love connecting with you. If you have a question that we can answer, please send it to us in an email. That is spiritualbasicspodcast@gmail.com. We will do our best to answer it in a future episode. And also, if you have a question or any suggestions on episodes that we can provide you with information, we are here to educate you and to share our experiences. So we are happy to do that. So thanks, guys, so much for joining us. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Stay grounded, my peeps.